B-double-D, Big Daddy Dalio, he is back with another article, once again on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn should really be thanking Dalio because this is about the only thing LinkedIn is good for. He's a influencer. Get it? But in this article, he's going to talk about why Bridgewater is less worried about a recession now that growth is plunging. Oh, that makes sense, right? Because growth is plunging, there should be no recession. But we're gonna find out what he means in this video. But before we do that, let's get some more decorations. This is sad. One trophy? I've participated a lot. I have a lot more trophies. But no, we're not gonna put another trophy there. Instead, we are gonna put a book there. I've just been waiting for a time to unleash my Dalio book for a Dalio article. See, my business partner, Jose, he said that I don't look smart enough in a kitchen. That I need to fill my kitchen with books so that people think I'm smart. No problem, Jose, no problem. And this isn't just any Dalio Principles book, this is a signed version. And did you think it was signed to me? No, it's signed off to my cousin Pooja, who got this book and got it signed by Ray right here. Now, did I know my cousin was a Dalio fan? No, absolutely not. I assume she was in a bookstore where he was doing a signing, maybe? Or maybe someone gave it to her as a present, because she immediately took it and gave it to my dad, who was like, why do I want a book signed to someone else? So he gave it to me. That's right, this book has already been handed down twice. I am at the bottom of the rung. Maybe I'll just change my name to Pooja, so that I feel like he signed it away to me. And I mean, it's not like I really needed this book, cause bam, I already had a copy. But it makes sense, right? B-double-D, double Dalios right here. Now I can do curls while I read. But yes, this was also a gift to me. See, when people realize you like Dalio, there's only one thing they can get you. They were just so excited when he released a book because then they knew what present to give me. But okay, we're gonna add this to the decoration so people think I'm smart. How's that look? Double D for Dalio. I am just a double D type of guy. But okay, now that our decorations are in place, you all think I'm smart now, let's get into this article. So here's Ray. Starting about 18 months ago, I assessed the risk of recession before the next presidential election to be over 50%. Because we at Bridgewater calculated that A, the growth spurt would be temporary and fade. And he's talking about the growth spurt that we've had for the most part over the last 18 months. So he was saying that that growth spurt would cause the Fed to change their policies. And by policies, he means raise rates. And that would drive asset prices and then the economy down. So the way the business cycle works, if you increase interest rates, the market is going to slow down and the economy is going to slow down too. Higher interest rates makes the cost of money higher, which means there's less easy money floating around. It's all liquidity, right? Less liquidity is like less grease for the economy to function. But because the market's weakened and Fed officials now see that the economy and inflation are weak, there has been a shift to an easier stance by the Fed. You know, everyone thought Powell was real hawkish, but now he's kind of slowed down a little bit with their rate hike path. And for the same reasons, because of weaker markets, economies, and inflation rates in other countries, other central banks have also become more inclined to ease, though they have less room to ease than our Fed. So for these reasons, which are mostly the Fed easing up, while I expect there's still to be a significant slowing of growth in the US and most other countries, I have lowered my odds of a US recession coming prior to the US presidential election to about 35%. So 35% chance that we hit a recession before the next elections. More specifically, the Fed now has both A, the power to lower interest rates by 2+%, and they have that power now and didn't have it before because they've been raising this whole time. They're finally not in that out of bullets scenario that was so dangerous before and that every person used as their freaking article title for so long. I get so sick of finance catchphrases, just overused way too much, and then I just used it again. And in addition to being able to drop things by more than 2%, they also had that QE option still. And he's saying B is the willingness of them to do that to prevent a recession, which is, like I said before, Powell has become a little more dovish. The ECB, which is the European Central Bank, and the BOJ, which is the Bank of Japan, both have much less room to ease. For these reasons, I still remain worried about economic weakness coming at the same time as central banks' powers to reverse it are limited, especially in Europe and Japan. Domestic and international conflicts are great, and there will be elections in a number of countries. So the US is still in the best position. Even when our growth slows, it slows less than everyone else. And he actually has some charts below about where growth and inflation are and where they're going to be. So you can see here that world real growth is dropping. It's close to 2% now, but the Bridgewater estimate is that it kind of stays around here. And inflation should drop a little bit according to Bridgewater. Developed world growth will drop, their inflation will stay about the same. And then we got growth for individual countries here, which I don't even know if you guys can see these charts. For such a big day Daddy, he's got some real small baby charts here. Come on, Dalio. But the main picture is in US, Japan, Britain, Canada, Australia, growth is just dropping across the board. So he says, in summary, while the Fed probably doesn't have enough firepower to offset a deep recession, the big sag that we expect is probably manageable. More specifically, the Fed now has 250 basis points of easing, which will be more impactful than typical because of the longer durations of assets this cycle. He's saying the Fed this time, when they ease, it's going to be more impactful because of all the debt that's been building up. It's all more long-term debt than before. So cutting rates will have a bigger effect. Plus, they have the ability to turn QE back on, which we estimate is roughly equivalent to the 4 to 5% of easing typically required to get out of recessions. So according to Bridgewater's analysis, when you get into a recession, you need about 5% of easing to get out of it. So you could say the first 2.5% comes from cutting rates. Because look right here, their rates are 250 basis points, right? They could cut all that back down to 0. Then the other 2.5% to get to the 5% of easing, that comes from QE. So pumping money into the system. It's that liquidity, remember? Easy money helps the economy. And I actually need to do a video on liquidity. I don't think I've done that yet. If you want to see that, comment down below. So he says that's the case for the US, but when you're looking at the whole picture concerning foreign countries, it's a little more concerning. So in Europe, the ECB appears unable and or unwilling to adequately ease because of politics and structural issues, while circumstances, the sagging growth and sub-target inflation, warrant an easing. So I think I've talked about this before, but the European Union is just a mess, right? You'll have a bunch of countries that are doing horrible and really want easing. Then they'll have to deal with Germany, who usually does better than everyone else and doesn't want easing. They're super strict and German, and they want austerity. So you always got that fighting between these countries that are so different they shouldn't be together. It's time for a divorce in the European Union. But it's one of those marriages where it was a time for divorce as soon as they got married. It was a dumb idea from the start. So Dalio says that chronic slow growth is most likely and worse is possible, especially if populist political forces continue to grow, which is definitely happening because we're in the middle of a populist wave right now. In Japan, we also see low growth and low inflation with slightly more room to do QE and better yield curve controls than Europe has, though the marginal effects of these will be limited. So Japan's a little better off than Europe, but not really. I mean, they're still in a bad situation. In China, we're seeing growth sag and the government responding with increased fiscal and monetary stimulation, though not yet enough to return to normal growth. So in China, they are stimulating more. And of course, they're going to be more willing to stimulate because the Communist Party, to keep their control, they need the economy to do somewhat well. You know, Xi Jinping, he waited to get complete dominance over the country before he started enacting some of these reforms. We haven't gone over China in a while, but if you remember those videos, they just had uncontrolled spending, insane amounts of debt, and all of it was just super unproductive. But the government kept pumping that spending and allowed it to go on because that's what they needed to stay in power. It's all adverse, messed up incentives, you know? Just everybody's trying to keep their place and stay in power, and it just screws up everything. But that's still China's main motivation. That's Xi Jinping's, that's his thing, you know? Pooh Bear wants to keep that honey. And then he finishes up with saying emerging markets are in the same bad place. Weaker growth and inflation with the ability to ease, but not enough to actually recover all the way. See, the thing is, the US is always the world's cleanest dirty shirt. So even if growth is slowing here, it's still the best market to invest in. So I was reading Alex's recent market brief, and in it he was talking about positioning and sentiment, and a bunch of managers are still way overweight emerging markets because everybody thinks emerging markets are going to outperform now in this next cycle. But the thing is, global growth, it's all tied together so tightly. If the US is not doing well, no one else is going to do well either. So I don't really understand that EM case that they're always going with. And as I've explained in previous videos, if everyone is piled into EM, then there's only one place to go for their money, right? Back into US stocks. So that's a good sign for the US bull market. And you remember in the beginning of this article, I was laughing because Dalio's less worried about a recession now that growth is plunging. And that's the backward economics world that we live in. Because when things are not going too great, the Fed is going to jump in to stimulate. And whenever the Fed does that, that just pushes markets. So what that means is that a slower economy is good for the bull market because you get that stimulus. But hey, this is all good for my US based equity strategy. Bring on the stimulus, make me some money. Make the wealth gap even larger because, you know, why not? So if you like this video, make sure you smash like. If I get just 1,500 likes on this video, I will start making videos of me reading Dalio's book blindfolded on this channel. If you want to see that, smash like. Also, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because pretty soon I'm gonna go over another market review. We're gonna go over the macro, the technicals, the sentiment. We're gonna see where markets are. As you can already tell from this article, we're in pretty good shape. But regardless, I will title that video, "Is the bear market here?" Because that's what people love to click on. They just big bear fans. I mean, go watch Animal Planet. I don't get it. But subscribe and I will see you in that video. And in the meantime, I mean, we're publishing videos every day. Just come hang out with us. It's so much fun. I mean, you know I'm smart. Look at my books. I've got 2 books and a trophy for participation. No, I won that, but just subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. Stay fallible out there. Bye.